Hi, I'm Linda Davis, a member of Anna Aspanis' creative team. On November 7th, Digital Scrapbooking Day, Anna hosted a live event in which she shared her creative process and art play method as she created a layout right in front of us. As part of that event, Donna Gore shared her unique approach to art journaling with Anna's kits and word art. I shared how I extract with the quick selection tool and my layers panel for this specific layout. Today, in response to a question during the live event, I'm going to share how I used Anna's stains to fill in the space between the extracted flowers and the background on this page. For the purposes of today's video, let's look at what we're going to do is we're going to look at the layers between the flowers. Let's turn them off, and the twigs, and the background. Now, my background was composed of stains from the Artsy Transfers Daffodil, as well as Artsy stains recolored and stamped on new blank layers. So what is that? What am I talking about? In essence, I used those stains rather than just stamping them with a color. I used them as clipping masks. So let's try that. I'm going to create a new blank layer, and I need to move that up here. Okay, this is going to be my stain, my sample, and I'm going to turn on the brushes with the brush tool, and I can also use the shortcut B. I'm going to select a brush. I'm going to make sure I have it on normal, opacity 100%. I happen to have it black so that you can see it. And I'm going to stamp it. Next, I'm going to turn my photo on, and I am going to clip it to the stain by pressing Option or Alt on a PC, Command G, but it's not exactly where I want, so I'm going to get my Move tool back on. This is my Move tool, and I'm going to move it so that I get just what I want showing through the mask. Now, there was one other thing that I did to this stain, and that was to apply a blur to it. I'm going to enlarge it so you can see the effect it has. It's the filter menu, blur, Gaussian blur. I used a radius of 3, clicked OK, and that applied the blur. If I undo it, you can see how much sharper it is, but I like the effect of it blurred. For this specific layout. I'm going to turn that off so that we can now look at the stains as I use them in my layers panel for this, this page. The first stain at the bottom was actually a white stain from Artsy Transfers Daffodil. I recolored it yellow. I clipped a photo to it. I changed the blend mode so that it would work with this specific stain and the way it was interacting with the paper to linear burn. And I gave it a blur as well. Same blur, a radius of 3 to soften it. And I went up. This is another white stain. It's very difficult to see. If I reduce the size of this just a little so you can see it a little better, and I'll just show you the stain. You can see it right over here. That's the stain. I gave it a blur, Gaussian blur, same radius, but it was a difference. This happens to be from the Artsy Transfers Daffodil, and I clipped a photo to that stain. These are Artsy stains number 1, and if you look at it, I actually stamped more than one stain, and sometimes what I'll do is I stamp each stain on a new blank layer, arrange them the way I want, and then merge them together, and that's what I did in this case. And so I'm going to turn that on, and the photo, this is where I clipped it, and it also has the blur on it. And the next stain, here it is. This is another case where I use the Artsy stains, more than one. I merged them together. And I gave this a blur as well, up to the blur gallery, Gaussian, radius of 3, and then I clipped my another copy. It's the same photo that I used throughout this page. I hope that you have found this idea for clipping using stains as clipping masks helpful. But if you haven't taken Anna Blends Live, I encourage you to sign up for the next session. Anna explains just how easy it is to create complex looking art along with the design principles for creating artsy layouts. You can find information for registration at Anna Blends Live at annaasmanisdesigns.com/classes. And Anna's designs, including the stains that I used in the Artsy transfers, are in her store at oscraps.com. Thank you, and please let Anna know if you have any other questions.